and that's why we call it a breakfast meeting for agripreneurs in the value chain in Africa. I'll start by introducing myself. I'm Ocean Said, a smart agripreneur and a social farmer from Nigeria, the regional director for OneAgrixas. So I'll be sharing some slides with everyone on the presentation. Today is going to be the first day of the presentation on what we're going to be talking about is food safety during and after COVID-19, sponsored by OneAgrixas. So bridging and improving the gap in the supply chain. So for those that are joining us, please, I would like us to introduce ourselves using the group chat by text, not by voice. So first of all, I believe we all ears. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So now, first of all, the whole issue is surrounding about COVID-19, which is a virus that is going viral and shutting down economic, shutting down nations, cutting supply chain, and all sorts. I'm sure many of us didn't prepare for this, and up to now, some people are still wondering what is going to be the way forward after or during this period, because many nations are observing their 14 days or even more. So we'll start by what's the origin. This is the presentation topic. First of all, most of us will have taken our breakfast. So I will start by saying, what did we take for breakfast? Some of us might have taken maybe vegetables. Some of us might have taken maybe cereal. Some of us snacks. Some of us tea, depending on the cultural value from different regions. But do we know that the FAO says over 113 million people experience acute poverty in the sub-Saharan Africa? Today in Nigeria, where I am now, is the poverty capital of the world. This was presented back in, I think, 2017. And Nigeria, with a population of over 200, have a 110 million people living in extreme poverty. That is the second point. And the other point is that in the sub-Saharan Africa, a shocking 28 million children are experiencing stunt growth in malnutrition. I believe you've seen the slides. I believe you're following me.
Yeah.
Okay. So now COVID-19, the origin. We all know the origin is started with the media broadcast that it started from China. And we all know it started all way back in December before the official broadcast in January when it started going beyond control. So Wuhan, the city in eastern China where it started, have a population of 11 million. And the statistics started going bad when they couldn't contain the virus spreading. So when diseases like this spark or start off, the first thing is to understand the futures, before we create a kind of global presentation. And I think that was what happened when the COVID-19 started. Are you there? Are you hearing me?
No, we are hearing.
Okay. Yeah, so the disease outbreak started and it went so bad that up to now, a lot of countries are trying to see what and how they could contain it. From report, it started in the seafood market in Wahun. And if we're going to trace and say what actually happened, how do we understudy, how do we understudy the virus, what are the symptoms, how do we curb it, how do we protect our customers, how do we project and safeguard ourselves, because as entrepreneurs, as agripreneurs in the field of the food supply chain, customer is key in whatever we are dealing with, in whatever we are presenting. So now symptoms started developing. They started talking about the symptoms, the low symptoms, that is the primary, before it goes to the severe symptoms. And according to the report, they say it develops between 1 to 14 days. And I think that's why many nations are making it mandatory for every community that this virus has been affected to stay at home for at least 14 days to flatten the curve. You understand? So many of us will have started doing research to know more about this pandemic. And in some recent reports, it's believed that this pandemic or this virus affects the most vulnerable, and that is those that their immune isn't strong enough to what to fight back. And this now comes back to the transmission. Now, once someone is affected, I want us to go through this whole COVID-19 background before we dive into the food safety, because it's preparing us for what the world is going to be engaging in the next decade. Now, the transmission, according to report, is that once someone is affected, then it can be transmitted through droplets of saliva. So which means if you have a contact with any of the saliva of an infected person, then you will be infected. You will be affected in the primary stage. And that is why one of the, when we go along, one of the preventive measures is that we wash our hands daily, we close our mouth for those that are sick and that sneeze and cough. So if you look at all this, effects, all this the transmission concept or the transmission template, you notice that it means that we as agripreneurs have to be precaution about how we present our products to the consumer, right from even from the farm. So imagine you are on the farm, and or you are in your processing factory, and an employee is being infected, unknowingly to you. So it means that your food, your product will be infected, which will lead to a kind of contamination to the consumer, either on the long run or the short run. So, and that's why one of the most important things now for we as agripreneurs in the food industry is that we need to now start checkmating the health um, history and the health check of our employees, starting from ourselves. Apart from what we put in place in our various um, factory or various farm settlements and workspace. So we need to also have the health um, status of our employee very key. So notification of sickness should be reported as a when due, you know, so that we don't have employees contaminating or infecting even their fellow employees in the workplace. You understand? So now, once we understand this transmission, it means that in the whole different kind of disease, this transmission is very much even deadly because we don't know who is who, and you don't. If you don't have the health history of your employees or whoever comes even into your factory without any health, any safety kit, then you are what you are injuring and you are trying to, uh, will I say, distort your own business. You understand? So now we go to the preventive measures. Now, the first thing now is that many countries are on shutdown, stay at home, you know, just for us to flatten the curve and for us to understand how we could curb and contain this virus going viral. Because once the only thing the virus can tell you is symptoms. In fact, right now, some people don't even have symptoms and they have the virus. So it makes it more deadly. And that is why the health status of everybody walking around you is going to be very key, is going to be very paramount in we moving forward as food processors, food suppliers. So these are one of the basic things that has been put in place or projected by WHO that we should what? We should keep safe distance, we should wash our hands, we should cover our mouth, especially for those that are ill. Then we should distance ourselves from those that are ill, you know, and we should also avoid unprotected contact with live animals and wild animals because one of even the origin of this virus started from the local wet market, you know, so which was an illegal market. You know, they have different kind of. When I say illegal, it's not approved. It's just an open market where they sell live animals. So now we talk about that. This is the individual protective measures. But when we talk about the collective protective measures, is that we should avoid shaking hands. We should wash our hands, and once we are ill, we should distance ourselves with those that are already healthy, which means that as an employee or as a business owner, once there should be a measure to give a barrier to those that are unhealed, that are sick, and those that are well in your work environment. Which means that maybe you're going to be making it a weekly or a monthly or even a daily report, you know, because checking the temperature doesn't mean that from the entrance of your workspace or from the entrance of your factory doesn't certify that someone might not be infected. So, which means that maybe from the day of resumption, everybody goes for this test, or everybody present his or her test, her medical check report, and you have a company medical center where they go for routine check, so that weekly they give a report on, okay, if you have a slight headache, you have to be, now is the time for us to be strict in our work environment. So even if you have a slight headache, you have cough, slight cough, you have this, you have that, it means it's either we provide preventive medications, or we even bar the person from coming in. You understand? So these are distancing ourselves from the sick and measures like that, you know. But most importantly, as business owners, there are ways we are going to be putting some of these measures that it won't be like stigmatization, or it won't hurt our employee management relationship. You understand? So then for the environment, preventing in the environment, your workspace, I put up this because one of the important or one of the factors that is affecting our globe today is the global change. We have these um, extreme hot, extreme rain, extreme cold, you know, and pollution. Because as producers, we use machines and we produce a lot of nitrogen, you know, carbon dioxide into the atmosphere because we are in the production um, manufacturing sector. So now that we're going to be, um, sorry, so now that we're moving into this phase in the industry where we are trying to redefine how we present our commodities to the world. It means there's a lot of things we have to be precaution we have to put in place to move ahead, and also to be competitive in the industry, you know. So these are some plants that is very, very good and very recommended to plant in your workspace, especially to purify the air around your workspace. So these are some of the plants, and I know many of us we know or might have seen some of these plants. Even aloe vera is here. You understand? Mother-in-law tongue is here. These are plants that we are used to. These plants purify the air, and if you can see here, one of these plants is good. It removes toxic in the workspace. This one does what? It creates daytime oxygen. This is very common, especially in the Arab, this palm. Then this creates nighttime oxygen. You understand? So these are some of the things that will be very necessary for us to, you know, put in place because of the work environment we are trying to project, and we are trying to safeguard our employees, ourselves, and visitors that come, you know, for inspection or for visitation or for tour into our factory. You understand? So these are preventive measures. Now, COVID 19 is disrupting the world. In fact, COVID 19 is now the number one disruptive, I won't say technology because it's not a technology, disruptive, um, will I say, I don't know what term to put it, you know, that is making businesses. In fact, the destruction is going to make a lot of businesses to go into liquidation and to go into a lot of cut down in their expenses in their workplace. But the good thing is that we in the agro or in the food industry, we are always important. We are very, very important in the humanity existence. So our ways and our etiquette in this period is going to be very, very important, because number one is that now that is disrupting and causing a lot of panic, we'll be seeing a lot of shortage, we'll be seeing a lot of waste shortage, you know, surplus, because now it's like the world is resetting itself and restarting itself for another decade, for another journey. So I believe now is the time for us to prepare ourselves and to go into the world, into the digital globe, to connect with the right customers, with the right buyers, with the right standard of presenting our food products. So the disruption is that it's disrupting our livelihood, the supply chain, access to food, access to basic need, because now everybody's at home, nobody's working, only for those on essential, and which is um, partly our industry and the pharmaceutical, the defense, the security, and stuff like that. So now, in the globe, we have been a lot of organization, a lot of charity, foundation, a lot of philanthropies have been talking about this issue of poverty, the issue of food production, the issue of, you know, how do we get access to food? How do we get this food supply, you know, evenly? And, if you look at this picture, you see these um, ladies selling products, selling food products. And if you look at it, this is their normal way of life. This is how they do daily, especially this happens mostly in many African countries. You see people selling, because in Africa, over 60% of the workforce are involved in agri, indirect or directly. So it's either they're in the farming or they are selling, they are trading agro products. But you ask yourself, with all the production, with all the effort the farmer, the smallhold farmer does, he doesn't, or he or she doesn't still reap or doesn't still get the income from these products. You understand? And have been wondering, and many of us will be wondering, why there's so much gap? Why there's so much gap? And it all boils down to what we are going to be discussing, what we are discussing today: food safety and food supply. Nobody in the world, after or even during this COVID-19, is going to be buying products that are unsafe or unethical, because everyone wants to survive, you know. So if you look at it now, unsafe food is a growing global threat. And this is what has happened. Eating food contaminated with bugs leads to more than half a billion cases of illness a year. This is a WHO report. You understand? So it says it's a global threat, contributed to about 351,000 deaths just in 2010. That is about 10 years back. Unsafe food. But these ladies selling products, it's normal. They don't see it as unethical or unsafe, because they don't have any fear of illness or threat of disease or so. But in the business world, in the global world, especially in the advanced countries, food safety is very much important. because you want to be able to trace, and that's what they call the food traceability. You want to be able to trace if it goes bad, where my food came from. That is the food traceability. And this is what is going to make many people to redefine how they produce and where they get their products from because of this pandemic. Because if you look at from the transmission of COVID 19 at the beginning of my discussion, imagine this woman in the middle having COVID 19 unknowingly, and they are all discussing within themselves here. And she's selling, what she's selling is palm oil. You understand? Refillable palm oil. So you bring your bottle and they sell it, or they put it inside a nylon or something like that. This is normal. So imagine she has unknowingly has COVID-19, and droplets of discussion enters this palm oil, and a customer approaches her to even just taste the palm oil to see the quality. You understand? It means unknowingly she also has what has been contaminated, has been infected by this woman, you know. And this is what we need to start thinking about. We need to start, you know, we need to have a framework of how we present our food, how we produce, how we package, how we distribute, you know, down to the customer. It is very key. And it has to start from the local before it even gets to international, because most of the waste is in the local market. If you go to so many more local markets, especially in Lagos here, the fruit market, you see a lot of waste. Most of these waste are not even converted to anything. It doesn't even get to its consumer as at when it's due. You understand? Perishable, and both perishable and non-perishable. So you ask yourself, then how will these people, or how will the farmer get the reap or get the income they ought to get? Because some people are hungry and some people need this food, but because of the way some people are doing it, it can't get to them. And it takes us to this. Now, the food safety science that we as agro suppliers, agro producers need to um, we need to start working on is that the food production environment has to be safe. Even looking at it, if you go to any manufacturing industry, in the end, at the entrance of any manufacturing industry, they will say safety begins from where? From, you know, from the entrance, the safety begins here. So we as food producers, whether you're a farmer, whether you are a producer, whether you are a storage or a delivery, you need to start imbibing the culture of safety so that people start to, you know, rethink, and people start to understand that what we eat, we are what we eat. You understand? So it means that once people start protecting and start redefining the workspace, your employee understands the importance of safety, then you need to provide some gadgets to them. You need to provide the PPE. You need to create some kind of toiletries, provide toiletries, provide some kind of washing basin, different kind of things. These are the things that we need to start putting in place. It's not going to be done overnight for many startup agro process or agro suppliers, but for those that are already in the industry, that have the capability, these are very necessary. Because once any certification body wants to come for inspection, these are the things they will be looking after. These are the things they will be wanting to see. You understand? And these are the things that makes you different from the local market or the local person producing or selling. So what are the kits. For the PPE, we have different kind of PPE for different kind of industry. But this is a PPE, the personal protective equipment for like a chef. You understand? You look at it and you see that, okay, your hair, your hair mustn't come out of your headgear. That's why we have to, the employees or those in the directly involved, not the people in the admin. But if the people in the admin are going into the production line, they have to wear their headgear. The earrings, ear chain, all going to be out. You are not going into the factory for fashion. You are going to into the factory to produce what is healthy for consumers. So safety has to be very, very important. You understand? No pockets out. Wearing neat clothes. You understand? No wristwatches. We all know all this. Most of us should know all these ethics that our employees should do. So, it's very much important that most food producer suppliers should have a employee or a company guide, a company handbook, that once someone joins your company, you understand, they flip through it, or they go through a training, just like when a banker, joins a bank for the intern, or they go through a kind of training. So it is very paramount that once any of our employee, or we are bringing a contract, the casual staff, they have to pass through this process of food safety, because you are NAFDAC approved, because you are halal approved, or you are what the FDA approved, doesn't mean that anybody working with you shouldn't understand the importance of what you're doing. It is very important that we, as business owners in the food industry, should guide those around us, and that makes us a leader in our work environment, in our workspace. So these are the things that these are the ethics of the dress code that is best for those in the food industry, and they should avoid. These ones are the ones that you should avoid, and these are the ones that the checklist here is the ones that are right. So what am I saying is that as we move into the phase of production, a lot of things is going to change. Our environment, the way we produce, the what they call our employees, and our consumers, how we engage our consumers. These are very, very necessary that we keep to the standard. And that is the way we can make the food supply even. We can plug into other access, other markets that need our commodity. Because once we are not able to break this issue of food safety, then we can't access the right market. We will continue to produce and not have access to the right market. So now look at this. This is a food market in Asia, one of the Asian countries, and this is where we need investment. Now, most of them here are covering their mouths. The person selling has a gloves in his hands, trying to pick up some commodity for the customer. Then, so so one of the important things is that in the way forward, the investment will be coming through the investment in the local food market, in protecting our customers and improving the nutritional along with trade is paramount. And this is very key. Protecting the customer and improving the nutritional value. So whatever we're producing have to be presented with nutritional value so your customers are comfortable with what the needs, you know, like you making them comfort, you making them aware that my product will give you vitamins or nutrients or like that, or energy like that. And this comes into our advertisements or our promotion when
Oh, okay, the one on there. Yes, this shit.
we are doing marketing. So this is the future we are moving into once we are able to curb the unethical or the unsafe way of marketing our production. So now, um, yeah, this we're gonna go for. We're gonna here after this. We just do a break for a short question and answer before we move ahead. Now you look at this um, chain here. If I'm gonna ask the number one here, is it safe or unsafe? What is this lady here? Is she safe? The product she's selling, is she safe or unsafe?
Unsafe.
Unsafe, good. Because number one, they are making, they call it moi moi in Nigeria here. The bean, I won't say bean cake, but she's not wearing what? She's not wearing a mouth guard here. She's not wearing gloves. You know, the woman here steering to is not wearing gloves. She's not wearing mouth guard, so it is unsafe. So this kind of workspace is a very wrong workspace. Now, here, is it wrong or right? Now she's selling vegetable. You can see there are ladies here talking, and I think she's trying to cut some vegetables here. Is this right or wrong?
Wrong.
It is wrong. And this is very predominant here. It is wrong. Because if she's going to do anything, she's supposed to what? She's supposed to wear her gloves and also have her mouth guard, and also even avoid talking. You understand? Now, if you look at this here, maybe it's not clear, but here, is it good or bad? Now here you see that there are different kind of, in this box, we have the knife that they're using to cut these beans. You understand? Putting it into the cup. The same thing here. If you look at this and this, which one is right? The one on the right or the one on the left? They are doing the same thing, but look at what is happening here. The one on the left is right because they are using gloves and they are using their mouth guard. Here, you can see the man here is not using any mouth guard, and is not, this lady here also is not using gloves. So we need, these are one of the things that we need to protect, or we need to safeguard ourselves. Now, if you look at this, we can say this is good, but not good. This is good or bad. They are wearing gloves, but they are not wearing their mouth guard. But if you now look at it, what they are producing here is going to be a juice. This is a pineapple juice factory. You understand? Which means it is the products inside. They are just from the washing, they are sorting here. The product inside. But all the same, the lady at the back here is wearing a mouth guard. You understand? So our environment, our work environment, where we produce our food, is going to be very, very key with this pandemic going forward. Because from a lot of news here and there, is going to stay with us for a while. And for us to be able to play in this industry and to be able to protect ourselves and our customers and we need to start from our individual farm production or processing or warehouse, so that once we have the certification and something goes wrong in the market, you know, they can easily trace back to us and say, oh, no, it's not from this person. These people are doing it right. You understand? Because what we eat is, we are what we eat. And they say food is medicine. So I'll be um, open to questions before we move to the second phase of the food origin, the food supply, and how we are going to solve this problem using digital. And then tomorrow we're going to be talking about customer segment and distribution. Then next tomorrow we're going to be talking about transparency and financial funding, how we're going to be um, preparing ourselves, for funding and, transparency in terms of bookkeeping. So I'm now all ears. This is 12 o'clock now. I think we could, if you have any question, please just put it in group chat, and then you can do, I'll answer the questions. Thank you very much. Any questions for with what we've been saying so far? So I think if there's no questions, then I think we should move ahead. We should move ahead because of time. So, okay, this is a good question. How do we achieve food safety in Nigeria? Okay, now that's a very good question. Food safety in Nigeria can be achieved if we start by engaging the local market. That is the first step. Once we know the certification to apply for, but before even knowing the certification, you need to have a background, understand the industry or the food area you want to move into, because every kind of food, that's when we want to go to the next slide now. Every food has its own food safety measures. So you need to, first of all, you have a product, or you have a commodity you want to sell or produce. Then you engage, you understand the local market, how they do it wrong, and get the certification of how you can do it right. I'm going to be sharing some links on where and what kind of certification, and even at this time, we can even do online training for some of these certifications. So I'm going to be sharing some links. And some of these online trainings, some are paid, some are free, depending on the platform that you need. So how we can achieve is, number one, identify the food product you want to promote or sell. Then also understand how the local market does it, and also what apply to the food uh, safety certification training. There are various kind of training for food safety. Some are very expensive. Some are very. Some are not most. Some are mild, and some are free. You understand? And some are just skill. You just need a skill and how you present it. For example, if you are in the commodity industry and you trade or you trade and supply cocoa or cashew, you understand me? You don't need a NAFDAC to be able to be a certified or to be selling cashew or cocoa. All you need to understand is the skill of getting the best quality of this product. And it's a skill that has to be learned over time with the locals and those international buyers. Now, it comes with how you preserve it, how you dry, how you sort, how you package. These are commodities that don't need NAFDAC because they are raw commodities. It's like going to the north and saying, I want to supply flour mills maize, or I want to supply flour mills soya beans. I don't need to have a NAFDAC certificate before I can supply Nigerian flour mills. You understand? But you need to get your product from those local farmers and get it in a food safety manner. No stones, no dirt inside, and all those kind of things. There are machines that do some of these things, and some don't have machines. For example, for grains, there are a lot of machines that do sorting. But if you don't have machines, you understand me, you can also buy from the local market and do your sorting manually. You understand me? And once you do your sorting manually, then you present, you have a workbook or you have a sheet. They call it the food analysis sheet. You can get that from NIFS, the Nigerian Institute of Food Science and Technology. They are the body that regulates on food safety in Nigeria. NAFDAC gives certification on products that are processed. You understand me? If you want to be, if you want your market, if you want to target the national market, then you have to have NAFDAC to be able to, or to be able to reach out to the national and also export. But if you want to, if you are producing on the ingredient level, NIFS and some other labs, you just contact the labs, they do the lab analysis on the requirements you want. Some of the requirements is moisture content, you know, the bean count, the nut count, uh, the KOR for like cashew, like that. So these are the things you need to know. That's why I said it starts from the product, what you are dealing with. Then you now streamline to, okay, this is what I want to do. Then this is the certification or this is the food safety guidelines I need to learn or adopt for this product. I believe I've answered your question. So if there's no more question, I think we go to the next the next slide, which is food origin and source. So, this takes us back to food, the origin of food. And they say that according to some research books that the father of food in 14 BC, the Greek physician Hippocrates, the father of medicine, said, "Let thy food be thy medicine, and let thy medicine be thy food." Which means, what it literally means is that our food should be the cure or the remedy to being healthy. And for us to live a healthy life, then we need to eat good food. So with this, it has pointed out that food safety is key. Because once your food is poisoned, then you are not taking a medicine, you are taking a poison. You understand? So if you look at it the classification of food, this is what I was talking, the classification of food, the nutrients, you know, is it inorganic or organic? Is it micronutrient or macronutrient? The origin, is it plant-based or is it animal-based? For example, now last year, a lot of news about meat, plant-based meat, you know, and plant-based milk. If we are going to be producing milk, not from cows, to reduce the carbon emission, then it means we need to consume plant-based milk. And what are the plant-based milk? Some of the plant-based milk is like soya milk, or like tiger nut milk, or like almond milk. You understand? So if you are not going to consume meat, the red meat, now there's a technology that is coming, plant-based meat, beef. You understand? And some of the plant-based beef that has been in existence even before all these issue about plant-based is mushroom. Mushroom is a plant-based meat. You understand? So these are the classification of food in terms of what food, you know, the consumer needs to know about what you sell or what you supply or what you produce. You understand? Now, once the classification is into like six, some people talk about seven, some say eight, but the classification here, I did six. And one of the classification is fruit. You know, fruit is a classification on its own under food. Starch is a classification under food. Flesh is a classification under food. Nut, seed, and dried food is a classification on its own under food too. Then neutral also is a classification under food, with raw leafy grains. These are classification under different kind of uh, food. So once you pick any of these, it determines how and what food safety measures you need to put in place to be able to process or to be able to package or to be able to deliver. For example, if you're going to be delivering nuts, you understand me? You don't need to deliver nuts in a cold storage. But if you're going to be delivering fruits, because these are perishable, then it means you need a cool environment to preserve it before it gets to your delivery point. The same thing, you don't need a cooling system for this. You understand? For grains, you understand? You don't need cooling system for grains, nuts. You understand? For dry um, products. So depending on your class, depending on where you choose, you understand, it determines what you are going to incur to make your food safe for your consumer. You understand? So once you are able to identify and understand the local market, for example, now in the fruit market, we know that there's a lot of waste because of its perishable, and the local market don't have the capacity to acquire some equipment or package some products or even process some products into finished goods. So we have a lot of waste in the fruit industry, in the fruit sub industry of the food supply chain. So if you are coming in here, you are not going to be doing business like the local market. Rather, you will be adding value to how they do the business, the ordinary local market, either in packaging, either in processing, which, for example, So Fresh in Nigeria is already doing something like that. Then we have Julie Foods. They are into processing of fruits. So what they do is they go to My 12 because they are in Lagos. They go to My 12, the food market, and they buy fresh fruits. They have machines blenders that do all those smoothies, slice everything, and they package it into, finished goods for consumers. You understand? So these are the um, added value that some of us um, these are the added value that some of us can, adopt when we are trying to add value or to make our food safety measures different. So now, with the COVID-19 pandemic, I believe most of us understand that one of the preventive measures that many of the doctors or recommendations is that for us to be able to fight this virus, we have to have a strong immune system. This now makes it mandatory or by default to make the demand for food that have, that boost immune system rise. You understand me? So if we have if we have demand in a rising demand in the immune food boosters, then it means as agripreneurs, as food suppliers, we should start identifying if we are in this field. If we are in this field, then we should also be looking at our production. You understand? Our production, where we are going to be getting more of this produce from. Just like example, what I was saying about So Fresh. They get their food products from the local bulk market, which is my 12, to package fruits for their customers. Now imagine they have presently, I think they have outlets in 3 different locations in Lagos, I think one in Abuja. So imagine now they now start having large demand of these products. So it means their production, where the source of their produce has to be redefined. They have to have a backward integration, not even backward integration, a supply chain, constant supply chain that gives them constant supply of the raw materials that they use in production. And also have a safety measure that we put in place to understudy everything that is coming into their production line. You understand me? So that nothing goes wrong. You understand? So these are the futuristic projection or futuristic market demand that we are going to be seeing in the nearest future. And also, you know, many people still have this notion that we must keep producing, and yes, we must keep producing, but the question is our production now enough for 9 billion population in the globe? If I'm going to ask anybody, if is our production, present production, now enough? Is it enough? Can someone ask that?
No,
Is
it's
it
not
enough?
enough.
It's not
It's
enough.
not enough.
It's not enough. That is wrong. Our present production is enough to feed the world. What we have right now is a global food waste. No, look at from this report now. They say the food waste in the developed world suggests that there is no guarantee that increasing global production will eliminate global hunger. So what does that mean? It is telling us that the food waste we have presently is enough to feed the world, that even if we continue to produce, we can never solve what? We can never solve the global hunger. And I'll give you a very simple example, which I'm working on now. Nigeria, which most of us know, Nigeria is the capital poverty of the globe right now. But do you know Nigeria is the largest producer of cassava? Nigeria is the largest in the globe, not in Africa. Now, in Africa, Nigeria is the largest producer of soya beans. In Africa, Nigeria is the largest producer of yam. In Africa, Nigeria is the largest producer of rice because of this revolution we started back in 2011. You know, in Nigeria is the second, in fact, the fourth largest producer of cocoa, and the fourth largest producer of cocoa and cashew. And you now ask yourself, how come Nigeria is now the poverty heaven or the poverty capital of the globe? And we have over 9 million children, you know, malnourished in Nigeria. Go to the north and you see what we call the Amajiris. You know, what are they always after? Going about begging is food. So that ordinary tells us that we have a lot of surplus, but you know, we are not plugging, we are not doing something right. And what we are not doing right is what we are trying to discuss and what we are discussing here. We are not doing something right. The food distribution is not being structured. The agricultural, the food network is not being structured. If we are the largest of all these top 10, we are large, this, and we can't still feed ourselves, then there's a problem. It's not even talking about production right now. Then we are talking about distribution and the value we are going to be adding to these crops that are going to waste. I hope I hope you understand my point. So now, if you look at it, now what we're trying to do is that, are we facing food shortage in the globe? No, we are not. We are not facing any food shortage in the globe. What we are facing is even uneven distribution of food supply. For example, now some people are crying that there is no egg somewhere, and some farmers contacted me that they have gluts of egg. You know, they have abundance of egg, but no one to buy. But someone somewhere is needing egg to distribute. You understand? So what are we doing wrong, or how can we synchronize and make this visible for buyers? How do the surplus get to the deficit? You understand? So we have a surplus of food and we have a deficit of hunger, of people being hungry. So, and this is what we're trying to, we're trying to project. So we are trying to use technology to what? To curtail, to contain. And this is how China was able to contain COVID-19, if we don't know. One of the tools China used to contain COVID-19 is not by telling people to sit at home, is by using digital tools to monitor those that are affected and to bring them for isolation and for monitoring, and to trace them, you understand, trace their steps, maybe 2-3 weeks, where they've gone, where they live and everything. It is technology. They were able to use technology to contain and to curb the widespread. If we don't if we don't use technology, we can never, we can never, bridge that gap between the surplus and the deficit. It is technology that is going to tell us, okay, we have this surplus and we have this deficit. Let this surplus get to this deficit. And how are we going to do that? This is what we are trying to do in OneAgrixas. We'll get to that stage. So you can see how the coronavirus is affecting the supply chain. There's going to be shortage of labor because right now is the planting season for many smallhold farmers. We are in April. The rain has started in most sub-Saharan Africa, especially in West Africa. And this is the planting season. In fact, some people have cleared their land even before this shutdown. You understand? And some people, you know, hire foreign laborers. But because of close down of borders, because of restrictions, it means the farmers that are going to plant in this season are going to be finding it difficult to plant. It means those that have already produced before now are going to find it very, very hard to have access, you understand me, to market. You understand me? It also means that the distribution, those that are going to be carrying those goods from one place to another, because right now some people are saying I can't go because I can't enter Lagos. Lagos is the number one place in Nigeria that has been restricted, that has been shut down since last week. So if you are bringing farm produce, even when you are on essential duty, before you find the transport to bring it down, it's going to be very difficult. You understand? So which means that once this it affects delivery to the customer, then what will happen? Then it means that we are going to have a lot of um what do you call it? Perishable waste. You understand? Once we can bring in those food supplies, those that are in harvest now. For example, we are in the cashew season because Nigeria. Let me give you an instance right now. Nigeria is the third largest producer of cashew in Africa, and 90% of our cashew in Nigeria is for export. We exported 220,000 metric tons of cashew in 2018. 220,000 metric tons of cashew. And all our cashew, majority of our cashew, that's 90-95% is for export. But because of countries have shut down, a lot of people have closed their order. What is happening is that those farmers that already have this seasonal income within this period have been what? Have been shortchanged by this pandemic because the government or the economy have banked too much on export of that commodity. And because the local market does not consume this commodity. And you ask yourself, why is the local market not consuming this commodity? And from my own research, it's because of the pricing. Right in February this year, the price of cashew per ton was about 230, 350, 320, went to 300. Then when the pandemic started gradually, it started falling. Now, as I speak to you, if you're going to be delivering cashew from raw cashew nuts from the farm location down to Lagos, delivery to Lagos is about 190, 200. You can see the drastic drop in pricing because many people have closed their orders. The only people that are surviving now is those that maybe are still, you know, believing that things are going to, change. Now it will flow down to those that supply, to flow down to the farmers like that. Now, when I say you ask yourself, why don't we have a local consumption for this commodity? It is because the agricultural sector is not well structured and we don't find value in this commodity. A normal or an average Nigerian still value a bag of rice to cashew. But if you give an elite a bag of rice or a cashew, You understand? A processed cashew, he will take a cashew because of the nutritional value. So you can see that there is a lot of huge gap between the supply chain. And this is really affecting, and this is why it's affecting those, especially in the primary level, the farming level, because they don't understand how this metric works. You understand? They don't understand how it works. They don't know the value. So we, in this processing, in um, we in the processing and in the value chain that are adding value to it, we need to make them understand and also what bring them on board to be able to, you know, sim that supply chain. So that is just an instance that I'm talking about. Now you can see now it says how countries are mitigating risk of COVID-19 on food and nutrition. One of the ways is that they have to keep the food trade going. No matter how they shut down, we are under the Essential Act, essential services. No matter how they shut down, we need to think innovative. We need to be proactive. We need to engage. We don't need to sit down at home and fold our hands. Even if we are sitting there, we need to be doing something that once we come out is going to change the way we are doing our business. So we need to support our smallhold farmers. We need to meet immediate food need of the vulnerable community. We need to keep the food supply chain alive. No economy is going to survive without a food supply chain. A lot of countries, a lot of big retail stores are going out of stock. You understand? So once they go out of stock and the shutdown or the lockdown is being extended, what will happen? Especially now in Nigeria.
Who are
Look at
Majalisa ne sai menene a Legas ya rarraba biredi ka ka ga yadda suke biredi ba su ban wai saboda sai a tom ɗin da aka yi rarraba biredi a
so
raba musu abinci
ensure that
kalli
this is done and while protecting everyone else. Please,
na
who is that?
sarki kuma
ya mishi kaɗan
Okay,
ne ya
hello,
gida guda
hello,
ya
hello, hello,
biredi ya
hello.
aka ba.
Who is, please, who is?
da ta ba su ɗan majalisa ne sai ce ta ba su wanda abinci speaker house speaker of the house kai mu da shi
So,
Mu da shirin nan ne ma suke wannan wulaƙanci.
so you can understand what I'm saying. So this is the what they call it, the difficulties that we find ourselves and why it's very important for us to be proactive and for us to also start to think out of the box. You understand? So we'll soon be done. We'll soon be done. So this is how do we disrupt the supply chain? I've just said it, and how they are mitigating that by helping the farmers and um, also helping to provide agricultural inputs and strategizing on the farm income, and also helping to reduce the greenhouse gas where possible. You understand? So now we come to how the OneAgrixas. I don't know if anyone on the, have heard of OneAgrixas before. Is anyone aware or know what OneAgrixas does? No. Okay. So OneAgrixas is going to be, or it is, a digital platform like Alibaba or Amazon. You understand? So, but OneAgrix is basically a market space for food. It's a market space where all food suppliers, farmers, use the platform to get access to market, access to buyers, and also use it to monitor their goods and present a very good cash flow. So digital, using your digital, like digital cash flow. So once your product is on OneAgrix, you are able to see how it moves from your warehouse or wherever to the consumer that makes an order and see how much he has paid, the dashboard, everything. So it gives you a very clear picture, a digital picture that you can even print later on, like getting reports on, okay, I want to know how much I've sold last year or this month and everything. It can even give you how to project. So OneAgrix is a B2B market space, just like I said, and we've been featured in different international and local um, media. We are focused on food safety, and that is why one of our key and major um, brand core is halal certification. That doesn't mean that we don't allow we don't allow others that are not allowed. Halal is key, but all other safety certification like FDA, like NAFDAC, like is in Nigeria National Export Promotion Certificate, all these certificates that makes you different from the local market is what we use to pitch or to attract these buyers, because most of the buyers that are on our platform are key and focused on food safety. Some of the buyers are in France, some are in Germany, some are in Europe, and in UK, in UAE, in Asia. You understand? So once your food product, is certified in some of these, is certified, and you have it on our platform. Once they go onto the platform, they see it by certification, they can connect to you directly without any middleman, you direct one-on-one. So this is the major thing that we do in OneAgrix. So where the suppliers are able to access new markets and grow opportunities, the buyers also procure at reduction prices. You give discounts as well necessary, and the consumers also can trace their products from the supplier to the buyer. So the final consumer, we also have a place where the final consumer can trace, okay, this product, let me even see, maybe it is being ordered from OneAgrix. Okay, this is the person that bought it from me. Okay, this is the person that supplied it to this person. So it's a three-phase platform. You understand? So we provide the kits and we support all our suppliers to make sure that they are up to date in terms of food safety, in terms of guidelines, in terms of training, in terms of support that we see that might be of necessity to their growth and projection. You understand? So also to the buyers, we offer them, engage them with discount. We engage them with some analytics to know the best time to buy in terms of season and stuff like that, and helping them to cut costs. You understand? The same thing for the consumer, just like what I said about traceability and to trust that this food came from this source. You understand? So now, what are we solving? We are solving three major obstacles in the food supply chain. And one of the major obstacles, especially for those farmers, is the middlemen. We can't eliminate middlemen in any distribution network, but we want to try as much as possible to use our digital platform to reduce the number of engaging middlemen in distribution, so that you as a producer, you as a supplier, you will be able to, or be able to have a margin by engaging these buyers directly. Because once you start having middlemen, it means you have to um, transfer additional costs to them or give them additional commission to them. You understand? But once you are able to reduce them and you have access to some and they too can handle some, then it makes you comfortable in how to expand and how to project. So we one of our core is to help reduce middlemen so that you increase the margin. So the low margin of trading that is being shortened by middlemen is reduced. And also the second is that we want to, in as much as possible, reduce food waste and food deficit, the supply deficit. So once we are able to target, or once we are able to admit and get a notification of a surplus, we will be able to pair that surplus with a buyer within the location or within the geographical area of that buyer using our analytics and our platform. So this is the second major thing we want to do. And also the third and the last is food safety. Certifications of every product has to be plugged on the platform. So not that you just sign up on the platform and that's all. You sign up with all your documents that will back your product. For example, I'm producing what they call it, hibiscus flower drink, and I get my certification. The first certification that you need is your CAC, which is your business. That's if you are in Nigeria. But if you're in other countries, every other country has their own business certification. That is the number one certification that has to be scanned and sent to us for what? For us to plug in into your dashboard. The second certification, we'll be moving to that. With second certification, I will show you a slide about that. So this is for us to be able to trace, for us to be able to know that you are authentic, our suppliers are authentic, we can verify them, and we can trace them and also guide them. You understand me? These are the three major um, um, important things. So this is the first step. Once you sign up, this is how your dashboard is going to look like. You understand? You sign up, you see your dashboard, you see the total pending order, you see the total what you've earned, the total order placed, the total product sold. Then you see it on the dashboard, you see it, sales analytics like that. Here is your supplier profile, manage order, like that. All these are on the dashboard of OneAgrixas for you to manage and for you to use to get access to these buyers. And here is your profile dashboard and also your product dashboard where you can use this to plan, because we have a planning dashboard too. So you can use to plan. This is the calendar, top selling products. If you have more than 5 or more than 2 products or more than 10 products, you'll be able to know the trends here. And here you'll be able to view. Just like Facebook, when you are doing a post or you are boosting a page and you see the analytics, you see it, okay, I'm able to cover some locations, I'm able to target some locations. That's exactly what we are trying to do using OneAgrixas, using our digital platform to be able to make it easy for suppliers, to have access to buyers and also plan their, projections, their sales projections. So the second, this is where the second step is that once all the certification is plugged into um, our platform, you see the buyers are able to trace if they are looking for example, if this is your CAC and this is your NAFDAC, maybe this is your FDA or halal or NPA, NPC, like that. So they are able to track you and say, okay, this person has this, he has this, he has this. Okay, okay, this is the product he's getting, this is the number, and they can also link and verify from the operators of this, as in the regulators of these certificates, to know if really these suppliers are due or are authentic. You understand? So we have partners with some of these regulators, to checkmate fraud and excesses. Because no matter what, some people will still, how some many industry works. So you can see now, you can see the flow. This is chicken, and this is the farmer, this is the producer, distribution, before it gets here, the retailer. And you can see that the chicken here, you understand me, it has derivative. It goes here, it goes there for processing, it goes here, there's the egg, you derive egg. So which means that once a farmer can supply, that does boiler, can supply egg to a distributor. So you know that, okay, this egg is coming from this farmer, you understand me? Also, this farmer can also supply grain to the producer. You understand? So this makes the seamless distribution, even. You understand? Once we are able to plug in and everybody is doing his or her own tax or his or her own duty as it's needed. So everybody will be able to understand and know where to plug in and what to do, like that. So this is how the whole, after once you sign up, the whole value chain works. So these are some of the certifications. So once you have your CAC, you have your lab analysis, you have your NAFDAC, your HAC, your halal certificate, then your export, national export promotion certificate. That is if you want to export to other countries. So these are the steps in certification steps. The number one is that you should have a CAC. You should be registered. Your company should be registered before you now even apply for NAFTA. Then you can now apply for other certificates depending on the market segmentation we're going to be discussing um, tomorrow. So you understand. So these are some of the online courses that you you could apply for. This is NIFS. This is FAO. This is yearly. This is NAHAC. This is nutritional food safety. Different kind of certificates you could apply for and do online. Some are paid, some are free. Is halal. So these are the important things we should know about. We should get set and we should prepare our mind as food suppliers and food producers in the industry, and also to be able to access new markets and stand out during and after this pandemic. I think I've spoken well. If you have any questions now, for those that join us late, I'm sorry. I'll be sharing the slides later after our three sections. Tomorrow we'll be talking about we're talking about customer segmentation and distribution. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed the the presentation. Thank you very much. So, any question?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
Thank you. That was a nice presentation and a nice lecture, if I may call it that.
Yeah.
Um, about the you said the purpose of the OneAgrix is to make sure that food, like the surplus,
Yeah.
gets to the deficit,
Yeah.
and also you is also to reduce the number of middlemen
Yeah.
in the process.
Yeah.
Okay, my question is this: if, as a, like, let me take for instance, I am a middleman
Yeah.
and I'm trying to, because you know the nature of Nigerian system,
Yeah.
most of the rural farmers or smallholder farmers, most of them don't really have access to technology. They don't
Mm-hmm.
get
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like with this, they may not really get access to, they may
Of
not really
course.
know
Of
about it.
course.
So
Of course.
as a middleman, I'm trying to gather each
Mm-hmm.
and every one of them
Come
to,
together.
you know,
Mm.
yes, like get their products.
Yeah.
They, as for me to also get my profit,
Yeah.
I get their products, get these
Exactly.
other ones so as to sell. So how will OneAgrix help a middleman in making, like, in fulfilling the mission of OneAgrix? I don't know if
Yeah.
you're getting
Yeah. I
my point.
understand you. I understand you. You
Yeah,
see,
yeah. So
this let me understand your point and exactly what before I even joined OneAgrix, this was what I was trying to do, you know, back in 2015. Many of these farmers don't have access to the technology, they don't have access to the right market, and that's why I said that's why we have this surplus and deficit. So we that understand how it works, it is an opportunity for us to to aggregate them and to organize them and put them in a better position. So how we're going to do that is by organizing. For example, I said the first step is that you have a business name. You could start by a business, limited or a cooperative, or even if you have a business name, you could start by organizing them as a cooperative for your own supply. You have a market for them already. So you organize them, aggregate them, and you know where you are getting your products from. For example, what I'm doing for cashew, which I'm presently, we are in the season of cashew. Now, these farmers don't have access to markets. They don't have access to the right buyer. So what we did back then is to register as a cooperative. You understand? Once you register as a cooperative, you know where you're getting your commodities from, whether it is grain, whether it is this or that, you know where you're getting it from. You already understand how it's going to work. You register your cooperative, you come to OneAgrix, you register your cooperative with OneAgrix with your certificate or whatever, you plug it in, you understand? What OneAgrix wants is getting that commodity to the right place. You understand? So if you have, okay, 300 tons of cashew, or you can be getting 100 tons of cashew, you put it, you present it, and you upload your cashew pictures and blah blah blah. In fact, one of the good thing is that we encourage most of our suppliers in this middleman stuff to um, organize these farmers as a social impact, that you are trying to what you are trying to uplift them from the poverty or from the unsafe way of how they farm. You understand? So if you are able to organize them and you are getting whatever you have access to the right buyer and you are getting margin, you'll be able to plow back your investment to even organize them better, if you understand what I'm saying. Because at the end of the day, when they see that, okay, this person has come to our town or our village to do this, she's doing this, in fact, they will be the one telling other people that, come on, come and join us. Oh, this is what this person is doing here. You understand me? And before you know it, within the community, you start dominating the place because of what you are doing to them, and they see the impact. You understand me? Now you've shortchanged other people that come, that ordinarily will come to that village or that town. You understand me? To just come and take from them and go. But because you've organized them, you have a routine and you do a follow up and you put some things in place for them to understand that every season, maybe it's a seasonal, whatever, this is what and what we should do. This is how and what I do my business. You understand me? So once you put them there, then they are on the map, on OneAgrixas and on the global map, because if anybody is going to be looking for cashew maybe in Kogi, and you are, as a farmer, you've organized them in a location in Kogi state, for example, and they go to OneAgrixas, because we don't have database in Nigeria and many African countries, but because they want access to these goods as I went you and good price, and they come to OneAgrixas and say, oh, so we can even get this here, let us contact this person. Because you've been able to put your structure in place with them, they contact you and they say that, oh, so what you put on the platform is actually right and we can engage you. Then you get the deal. You understand what I'm saying? And before you know it, you are already accessing these buyers and also getting the dividends. You understand me? Back into your investment. So as a business producer or supplier, it is not until you produce. You might be getting commodities to trade. You might be getting commodities for distribution. You might be a direct producer. I hope I've answered the question.
Yeah, you have.
So that's how it's going to be working, because one of the what we are trying to even in our dashboard, our back end now, is that we want to start contacting, once everything is set, many suppliers are signing up, we'll start contacting even the local buyers that we have surplus of this, do you need them? So it makes it very easy for those procurement managers in these local places to access and contact you, instead of looking for one referral that is not can be trusted and every other thing like that. Once they can access you using the digital platform, then they check your profile and everything, they can contact you and say, okay, can you do this, can you do this? In fact, they might give you some other options that outside what you're doing, that you have a link or you have a experience about, if you understand what I'm saying. So these are the way digitalization is going to work in the food space. Any other question?
So
Yeah.
another clarification I would like to get, sorry, would be, how do you get to the customers? How do you get to the buyers?
Okay.
How does the buyers assess you?
Okay. How does the buyers assess you on our platform? That's what you're asking, if I'm right.
How
Or we.
how does
Is it how
that's my
is it how do you or how do we get buyers?
yes, how do you get buyers? How do let me take for instance, in China here they
Yeah.
have an online market, like
Yeah.
they have
Alibaba and
Dubai
yeah.
and Pinduoduo. Yes, these
Mm-hmm.
two. So almost every Chinese app or Chinese phone have these two apps. So
Okay.
whatever you just need, you just go, you log it, you click and look for different goods you want. So my
Yeah.
question is, in Nigeria, starting from our own country first, in
Okay.
Nigeria,
Yeah.
how do your buyers get their products from the sellers or from the suppliers?
Okay. That's a good question. Now, how they get their products from the suppliers is they are on our platform. They have to first sign up. You understand? Once they sign up, they can access you directly based on number one, your location, your products, and your food certification, what they need. These are the three major things. Once they sign up to our platform, which we are onboarding them in batches based on priority. So they check the location. No, first of all, the products, then the location, then the certification. If you meet their certification need, this is how they are able to connect and get to you. For example, if a buyer is in Lagos, because most of the buyers is in Lagos, and um, they need maybe 5 tons of will I say, let me just say cocoa powder, you know, for them to be supplying maybe hotels or whatever. So when they are on board, they go to our platform and they check for cocoa powder. Once they see it, they check for the location. They can streamline to check for location, and they now check for if you really have the certification before they can now connect to you and say, okay, this person has this person has this. You understand me? And that's why we are encouraging most of the suppliers to come on board, so that we can start pushing you to start getting the certification. Because most of these people that are coming onto our platform, the first thing is, these people, are they certified? Not just anyhow. Because most of the platform, most of the market space, anybody just put anything. But what makes us different is that we are very key about you acquiring 1 or 2 certification. You understand me? So that you have edge over any other person. You understand me? So that's one of the key and major importance if you are going to if you want to connect with the right buyer. Because most of the buyers that we have on on our profile are high profile people that want based on food safety, and that's why we are key about the food safety, if you understand my point. So any other question? Any other question? So if there's no further question, okay, I think someone is raising. Okay, I can hear
Hello,
you.
can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Okay, and Mr. Williams sent a direct message to me. I think it's a mistake. He was asking
Okay.
on how long does it take for a product to get to the supplier?
How long does it? Yeah, it depends on the location. If it's for export, number one, okay, I didn't. We are going to be discussing the distribution tomorrow. Now, the gestation period starts from when your buyer has made an order, and you people have agreed, to supply. Once they make an order, we are using 2 platforms. One of the platform we are using for payment is escrow. We are using escrow for your payment, which we embed your bank account and every other thing. So all these LC blah blah is not going. Escrow is going to be just seamless. You understand? And we are using Freighto. Freighto is a digital shipping platform. So these two are the enablers. These are one of the key enablers of our platform. Escrow for the payment, and Freighto for the shipment. That is if you are shipping outside Nigeria. But if you are distributing within Nigeria, it means we're going to be discussing that tomorrow, talking about it means whatever you are putting as your product online, then you have a place to put your cost of delivery. cost of delivering that product to your buyer within your national territory boundaries. But if it's for export, we're going to be guiding you on how to plug in fact, that one doesn't concern. It's the buyers. It's the buyers that will plug in and know where they get the container and every other thing. Yours is to produce, put your product, you understand me, and give the price X the port that is going to be, picked up from. You understand me? So that is your own as a supplier. But for buyers are the ones that will take care of the shipment. They will do on taking care of whatever logistics and everything. So your product pricing has to be X the port. So it's not X your factory. So that's one of the things we are going to be discussing. So that once you are putting your pricing in, you're uploading your product and you're putting the pricing, it has to be the pricing that, okay, the person is picking up from either your factory or picking up from the ports of dispatch, if you understand what I'm saying. So the gestation period now depends on what the buyer have what they call it has engaged with his shipper. You understand me? So I hope that is clear. Then one other question is, how do you mean supplier and the producer must register in your platform? How do you mean the supplier and what I'm saying is that maybe OneAgrixas is a digital market space for food distribution. You understand me? So you have to register for you to have access to buyers, or for you to be able to monitor your products from one place, from your factory or for wherever, to the buyer. You understand? So it's not as if maybe you just see buyer and at the end of the day, everything, they just make order. You have to make order from your dashboard, and you transact the business through the platform, if you understand what I'm saying. And for the registration, is it free or you pay money? For now, because we had a conference with the World Export Forum last year, so we gave a waiver for a year, which has, in fact, for a year, all suppliers is free for you to sign up on the platform. It's a free platform, for a year. From the day you sign up, it is a year free subscription. You understand? So all you just need to do is package yourself, your products, and your pricing, get it right. Then we start engaging you. We start pushing you. If you don't have certification, if you have certification, then we now start pushing you to buyers and stuff like that. So it's a one step at a time. So once you don't have certification, we try to push that you get the certification so that you can move to the next level. You understand? So I hope I've answered that question.
Also, is it possible to do an upgrade or an update? Let me take, for instance, the person registered with maybe selling of cocoa.
Yes.
Then subsequent time, the person ventured into livestock, maybe
Yes,
pets.
yes.
Is it possible for the person to still upgrade?
Of course, in our platform, I'll discuss that one. We have about more than 6 categories. So it depends on where you fall. You might fall in all categories. You understand? So what product you are bringing, all the products you are bringing has a category. If you are bringing grains, it goes into the category of grains. If you are bringing livestock, if you are bringing organic, in fact, we have a category for organic, we have a category for fresh, we have a category for, the perishable fruits, for nuts, seeds. So it depends on what you are bringing. We'll put it under the category. So your company name and every other thing will be there. So if a buyer comes in and goes to that category, the buyers will see your products. So the upgrade is just you are submitting or not, you are adding. That is, once you are upgrading, you are just adding additional products to your product line. So that's what it means. So is OneAgrixas has a commission on products sold? Yes. OneAgrixas is not OneAgrixas per se. The platform escrow, you understand, in your payment, that doesn't is not is embedded. You know, it's just like normal e-commerce. Once you add a product, you understand me, you know, there will be a kind of a tax, blah blah blah, like that. So the buyer is the one that bears whatever additional cost in whatever product that a supplier is bringing. So it is embedded in the cart drop, in the cart this thing pricing, that okay, this product has discount, this product has commission, has tax, blah blah blah. You understand? So yes, it's embedded in it, in the pricing. So yes, I will share the slide with everybody, but I'm going to be sharing a full slide after the 3 days. I'll share it, and I will appreciate you send me your emails. Send your email so that I can share the slide. You can send it to your name, your email, your name, your email, and your company name. You understand? Your company name, your mail, your email. Send it to the group chat. I'll copy it and I'll share it with every other person. So tomorrow, if after by 11 same time, if you still chance, we're going to be discussing on the customer segmentation and distribution. That is one of the most interesting parts of it, on how and where we could see some potential market, you know, in the supply chain. So I thank you very much. Please drop your name, company name, and email. So I hope we enjoy the class, and looking forward to everybody signing up, and we engage ourselves better. And before we go, I would like to know what products are you into, so that we'll be able to know how we can start engaging you after this series.